What's good, everybody? It's the Clado and Cab Show. UFC 308 was crazy. Shout out to Ilya Topuria. I doubted him. I thought Max Holloway was going to get the victory. He did it. He got knocked out. First time ever in Max Holloway's career. But, I mean, Max Holloway's still a legend. Shout out to Topuria. But the biggest storyline of UFC 308 was definitely Khamzat Chimaev. Look, Chimaev is legit. He's the real deal. I knew Chimaev when he first came into the UFC back in 2020, about 4 years ago. He made his debut, and he just really ran through everybody. I mean, his recent fight, I think, last year was against Kamaru Usman, arguably one of the greatest welterweights of all time at 170, and he beat him. Even though he did get tired at the end of that fight, I could say that Usman won round 2 and 3 barely, but with just how Khamzat just comes out, man, Chimaev is just a different breed, bro. He really is. He's a different type of wrestler. He just goes at you, and what I saw this weekend against Robert Whittaker, and I told you guys to go Chimaev. I went 100% Chimaev. I said, I'm just going Chimaev. I don't care. He's been out over a year or two, kind of been inconsistent, dealing with the, virus that he had in his body. With his sickness, he overcame that. But what he did to Robert Whittaker in round 1, choked him out, broke his teeth, made his teeth go all the way back. It's just, Chimaev's just, man, he's a different breed right now. And what that tells me is Chimaev is ready for the 185 title belt right now. He can fight Duplessis, he can fight Sean Strickland literally on the same night and beat both of those guys. I just think he's going to run right through those guys. I mean, come on. Sean Strickland, I get it from America. He's a great fighter and all, even though I do think Sean Strickland deep down is a racist motherfucker. Excuse my profanity, but dude, like Sean Strickland just gives no remorse whatsoever, kind of says what he wants, kind of loose screw type of guy. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I like Sean Strickland. Seems like a cool dude. But at the end of the day, man, it's just the IQ's not there. And I think if he does match up against Chimaev, he's going to get dog walked. Literally. He's going to get ran right through. He's just going to get taken down. Let's say we put Duplessis versus Chimaev. How's that fight going to plan out? Look, he's going to take him down. Even though Duplessis is a good wrestler, it's just Chimaev is a different animal right now. At 185, he's coming in. I think he came in with maybe like 186 at the time of the weigh-in a couple days ago, but Chimaev, he's just built different right now. Training up in the mountains, got a different team around him, and it seems like a type of team that's out for Chimaev here. Chimaev's got a 1-year-old son. Chimaev's just dealt with a lot of adversity the past couple years where he just took it all out on Robert Whittaker and said, hey, I'm just going to ragdoll this guy. I'm going to choke him out in the first round. Literally, it lasted, 2 or 3 minutes, this fight, just that quick. So I just think if Chimaev does match up, and I think he matches up great against Sean Strickland or Duplessis or even Adesanya. I love Adesanya. Adesanya's been a huge superstar in the UFC, but Adesanya doesn't want that fight either. I mean, let's be honest. That's a mismatch for Adesanya. Adesanya's not a wrestler. Chimaev's an elite, top-tier wrestler. We're talking the top 3 best wrestlers in the UFC right now. Chimaev's arguably number 1 right now. So, we have to respect Chimaev and what he's doing right now. I mean, he's undefeated in the UFC. He's 14-0 right now, and it looks like nobody's going to stop him right now. And I just think right now, I think Chimaev's where he needs to be at 185. I think that's the best weight class. I don't think Chimaev could possibly go up to 205. I think that'd be a mistake. Yes, I get it. They're talking about him maybe possibly fighting Alex Pereira, even though that matchup is kind of, in a way, Chimaev's favor. Really though, if we're talking, about Alex Pereira, a guy that likes to stand up, doesn't like to wrestle, Chimaev's an elite wrestler. We could see that fight possibly happen. I don't think that fight's going to happen anytime soon, but in the future, it could very well possibly happen. Absolutely. So that fight could happen years down the line, but a guy like Bo Nickel, he's an American guy. He's a wrestler. He's at 185. He's more newer than Chimaev. He came into the UFC a couple years ago, literally. And I think the UFC's building that fight up, Chimaev versus Bo Nickel, in a couple years from now. We're talking elite type of wrestlers here. Top tier wrestlers in the UFC, not just in the UFC, in the world. So, it's crazy how that works, but Bo Nickel's our only hope versus Chimaev, is my opinion. But like I said, Chimaev at 185 is a scary, scary person, and I think he's going to run right through Duplessis or Sean Strickland, whichever, or give me Chimaev. That's who I'm going with. I'm rolling with Chimaev. That's the bread and butter right now. Shout out to Chimaev, man. Take off one time, man. It is great to see Chimaev back in the UFC. Big business, big numbers, and I'm telling you, it's only going to get bigger for Chimaev in the future. I hope to see him back in a couple months. And then we had the main event, Max Holloway versus Ilia Topuria. Topuria won in the third round by knockout, and Topuria was right all along. I took the bait. Topuria said, eventually, Max, I'm going to catch you. Maybe not in the first 10 seconds, but eventually in this fight, I will catch you and I will knock you out. And Topuria did it, man. I mean, Topuria's the champ at 145. Deservingly so. Shout out to Topuria, man. I kind of wanted to see him get humbled in a way, but right now it looks like Topuria is in control at 145, and it looks like he's going to be at the top for a very, very long time. I don't know who's going to beat Topuria anytime soon right now at 185. I think for Max Holloway, what's next for him? He was at the top literally 4 months ago. Now he's a highlight. That's part of the MMA. That's the UFC. You know, 1 month you're at the top. Then a couple months later, you're not at the top. That's just how it goes. But as far as Max Holloway goes, he's 26-8 in the UFC. I do think Max should go up to 155. I think he's better at that class. I think 145 just takes a little off Max Holloway's power. Even though Max Holloway doesn't have the best power ever, that takes a little bit. Because going down to 145, shedding that 10 pounds, and then arguably, you know, gaining a lot of pounds within the fight, 24 hours within the fight, it's just a lot to do. You know, we're talking about 15, 20 pounds being shed from Max Holloway's power from going down to 145 to 155. It's come fight night. So I just think Max Holloway needs to stay at 155. I think, you know, a rematch with him and Dustin Poirier. Poirier says one more fight on his UFC contract and then he's retiring after a great career for Dustin Poirier. Why not? Why not Max Holloway, Dustin Poirier? I think that would do great numbers. I think it'd do well for the UFC. I think it'd make Dana White millions on millions of dollars. So it makes sense. If it makes money, it makes sense for Dana White in the UFC. So I think Max Holloway, I think that'd be great for him. I think to fight Dustin Poirier on Dustin Poirier's literally last fight in the UFC, why not? I think that fight could very well happen. There's a lot of things that can go well for Max Holloway. He could literally, if ever Conor McGregor does come back, fight the rematch on that fight. Max Holloway, Conor McGregor too. I think that would do great business as well, but it's just a long shot for Conor McGregor right now to come back in the UFC. I don't think he will be back. I really don't. I'm one of the biggest Conor McGregor fans, and him just realizing he's a millionaire, a multi-millionaire, almost a billionaire, will be a billionaire in about 5 years from now. For him, he doesn't need to fight anymore. McGregor's involved in bare-knuckle fighting. He's involved in his whiskey business. He's a successful businessman. So why would he want to risk getting punched in the face and getting more injured in a fight in the UFC? I don't think it's going to happen. I just think in any different universe, any human, rightfully so, on planet Earth today that was in Conor McGregor's shoes, would you guys fight? Would you guys go through a 3-4 month training camp and get ready and prepare for another UFC fight? Would you? With all the millions you have in your bank account? I don't think so. I think the motivation's going to go. I think the love of the sport, in a way, is kind of fading for McGregor. He's just involved in completely different things right now. So I just think for McGregor, if we do see him back, it's going to be a miracle. It really is. He's almost a billionaire at this point. Like, McGregor doesn't need to fight anymore. Like, he's the boss now. He a part owner of bare knuckle. Like, he doesn't need to fight. So I just think the typical MMA fan understands that, hey, there's a big possibility that Conor McGregor will never be back in the UFC. Even though he's talking about coming back in the spring. He was supposed to fight Michael Chandler back in the summer in June. That fight fell through with a toe injury. It's just a lot of things adding up for McGregor, where I just think the love of the sport is gone for McGregor. So Max Holloway versus Conor McGregor 2, I don't think ever is going to happen. But I do think Max Holloway can fight Dustin Poirier. I really do. I think that fight is a strong possibility. Now, Ilia Topuria, he's going to stay at 145, or could we possibly see Ilia Topuria go up to 155? He was talking about fighting Islam, saying he would be the first person to submit Islam, which is crazy. Islam's a top 3 wrestler in the UFC, and Topuria to come out and say, hey, I'm going to submit you. I mean, that's some bold words. Who knows what's going to happen there? But, you know, what a main event fight. I mean, there was a lot of great fights. Ankalaev won by decision, which really was a really decisive win for me. They're saying he's going to go match up against Alex Pereira. I don't see that fight really going well for Ankalaev. I don't. What I've seen from Ankalaev is slow feet, you know, a guy that really disguises takedowns, and it's just like, man, dude, like, I just think Pereira right now is going to knock him out. I don't know what the UFC is going to do with Pereira. He might take some time off, about 4 or 5 months off, But I just think the bigger picture, Ankalaev, I mean, yeah, they can match him up. Ankalaev's a great wrestler, but overall, I just think Alex Pereira just too hot right now. He's the main guy. He's the pound for pound #1 king right now for a reason. It's because Alex Pereira knocks people out cold. He's a cold-blooded killer. The Alex Pereira is a cold-blooded killer. Shout out to Alex Pereira. Then we had the one-eyed dude, the Russian dude. He won again. He's undefeated, 15-0. Look, I mean, I believe he fights at 170. He's a dog, man. I mean, a lot of these guys do not fight in America, though. Like, some of these Russian guys, even Chimaev, I don't understand. Like, Chimaev is going to have to fight in the States eventually. If Chimaev wants to have the belt, you're going to have to fight here, dude. You're just going to have to. The UFC's mainly in America. Like, yes, they travel to different places like Abu Dhabi, Dubai, once, twice a year. But to become a champion and become the top of the food chain in the UFC, you're going to have to fight in the States. So I think Chimaev is eventually going to have to figure something out to get back in the States and fight in the States. But, that's the biggest surprise to me all weekend was definitely Max Holloway getting knocked out. I did not see that coming. I was wrong on that. Shout out to Ilya Topuria. He's the champion for a reason. First title defense was a success for Ilya Topuria. But Chimaev right now, Chimaev's the hottest guy, I think, right now, besides Alex Pereira in the UFC, where we're talking about a guy that they're pushing. They're pushing Chimaev to go to the new heights. They're pushing that Chimaev fight to fight Sean Strickland or Duplessis at 185. So I just think right now Chimaev is the real deal. I've always thought Chimaev's the real deal. That's why I bet on Chimaev this weekend, and I said Chimaev's going to beat Robert Whittaker. I don't care. Robert Whittaker's been more active, this and that. At the end of the day, Chimaev is the real deal, and I'm telling you right now, Chimaev will be champion at 185 eventually. If not at the end of this year, he will be by summer of 2025. Yes, Khamzat Chimaev will be champion at 185 by summer of 2025 next year. So mark my words, Chimaev is coming for everybody. And like Chimaev said in the past, it's kill everybody. Chimaev literally is a different animal, man. He literally got on the mic and said, kill everybody. I'm going to kill everybody. Literally, Chimaev is a killer. Him, Alex Pereira are at the top of the food chain right now in the UFC, man. I cannot wait to see what's next for Chimaev. I hope he fights literally in 3 or 4 months from now. I don't want to see Chimaev fight this time next year. I want to see Chimaev fight 3 or 4 times a year. Well, that's what I want to see. I can't wait. But we got UFC 309. We got John Jones fighting Stipe in New York for the heavyweight championship belt. Yes, Tom Aspinall is going to be in attendance. I can't wait, man. I can't wait. I can't wait to see the GOAT, John Jones, the greatest fighter in the UFC history of all time. John Jones never lost a fight. I'm telling you right now, John Jones is going to wipe right through Stipe, and he's going to fight one more fight either against Tom Aspinall or everybody's fan favorite. Everybody, I like him too. Yes, I get it. I understand everybody's kind of hated on, but at the end of the day, yes, I just think for John Jones, man, even put people in the same sentence as John Jones is pretty crazy. But Francis Ngannou, yes, Francis Ngannou is a great fighter. He's this and that. But let's be honest here. If Francis Ngannou did fight John Jones, and if that fight does happen next year, we could say, yes, John Jones is going to shoot for takedowns. He's going to utilize his wrestling and eventually beat Francis Ngannou. That's how he's going to win. John Jones is just smarter. He's ahead of the curve. Same thing with Tom Aspinall. If Tom Aspinall ends up fighting John Jones next year, what's going to happen? The same result. John Jones is going to shoot for takedowns. He's going to take you down. He's going to use elbows. He's going to bust you up. And then you're going to lose the fight. That's how it's going to happen. But can't wait to see the John Jones next month. The GOAT, the greatest UFC fighter of all time. UFC 308 was iconic. Chimaev takeoff. It's the Cloud with Cam Show. Let's go!